This presidential election is about big ideas when it comes to the economy, your money, and your job. President Obama and Mitt Romney each trying to convince voters that they're more in touch with the struggles of America's middle class. But former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura doesn't buy it. In fact, he calls America's two-party system of government just a bunch of, quote, thugs in Brooks Brothers suits. That's offensive to Brooks Brothers suits to associate them with Washington. That's a joke. He's the author of the new book, DemoCRIPS and ReBLOODlicans, No More Gangs in Government. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Christine. How are you today?
I'm great. You know, it was a year ago, a little over a year ago, we were here with your last book. You are one prolific complainer about our two-party system.
Well, I'm not a complainer. I just, it doesn't require complaining. They've ruined our country. I mean, the DemoCRIPS and the ReBLOODlicans have been in charge of this country for over 100 years. And look at the shape we're in. We have a national debt that's out of control. They send us to wars that we shouldn't be fighting in, meaningless wars. And think of this for a moment. I'm 60 years old now. And for over 30 years, over half of my life, I'm post-World War II, we've been at war.
Let's talk about the
I think that's ridiculous.
Let's talk about the Bloods and the Crips, the gang names that you're using in the title. I want to read a little chunk of the book. Think red states and blue states. Aren't the Republicans considered the red state party and the Democrats blue like the Crips? People trying to kill each other off while building up their own coffers with funds for favors. Don't the Republicans and the Democrats do everything they can to incorporate any neighboring street gangs? Explain to me your metaphor.
Well, the point is they're just like the street gangs, only they're worse. Because the street gangs only affect a minority amount of people in the areas they're located. The Democrats and Republicans affect each and every American in the decisions that they make and what they do. And what I was comparing is when you on television talk about blue states, well, you're talking about Democratic states. Well, the colors of the Crips are blue. If you're talking about red states, well, that's the Republicans. The color of the Bloods is red. So they even use the same color code as the street gangs do. And my quote was, they're identical to the street gangs, except these guys wear Brooks Brothers suits. That's all.
Well, he's right in that, Christine, that the parties are going to punish their own for not abiding by a set, rule of this is what we actually believe in. So you look at on the Democratic side, if you are a blue dog, oh my goodness, you're going to get punished in primaries. If you're a moderate Republican, you're going to get punished in primaries. And so I love in California how in their primary, the top two vote getters, they're the ones who are going to advance. I love that because there's sometimes when you vote, you may like somebody over the Republican primary, you may like somebody in the Democratic primary, but you're forced to choose one party. You can't say, I like this person and this person. You have to pick a party to vote. That makes no sense.
Let me add this and maybe ask the governor. To the extent that the governor's criticism extends to the parties acting as teams, I totally get what you're saying. But in the idealistic scenario, in the way that they're envisioned, parties should represent ideological consistency, some sense of ideological cohesiveness, that all my ideas somewhat fit together, and this party is supposed to represent that. Do you, Governor, have an ideological consistency, or do you just reject all consistency of ideas together?
No, I don't reject consistency of ideas, but the point is, why should their names be put on the ballot? Look, they've created a system in America right now of bribery.
Right? For shorthand.
No, wait, bribery. Bribery. You have to bribe the parties, bribe the candidates. If we do that in the private sector, we go to jail. Yet we have a complete political system based upon bribery. And now with the Supreme Court's ruling, corporations can give any amount of money to any candidate, and they don't even have to say who they got the money from. Let me give you what should happen. I think all presidential candidates should be forced to wear NASCAR racing suits. You know why?
Why?
That way, when you look at Jimmy Johnson and you look at all the great... Stewart, they got all the names of their sponsors right in front of you. That way you'll know who owns the candidate.
Well, there's not enough room.
They accepted money from.
There's not enough room on their suits, I don't think. Is there?
In all fairness, that's what Citizens United has done. The argument for Citizens United is that it at least made donations transparent. You know who's buying these super PACs. You know exactly which billionaire is paying for Newt Gingrich's presidential super PAC. But here's my question for you. What is the one reform, seriously, besides the NASCAR jerseys, that you would recommend to fix the problems with our political system?
The one simple reform would be on every ballot, don't list the gang names or the gang symbols. They make it far too easy. If you're conservative, you don't have to know the candidate's name. You walk in and look for Republican. If you're a liberal, you don't need to know the candidate's name. You look for Democrat. How about removing all that and just print the candidate's name? Then it becomes to the voter must then educate themselves. What does John Smith stand for? Make the parties like political action committees. They can still endorse, the same as the teachers union, the police union, fire, whoever. They can endorse candidates, but let's remove the party names from the ballots.
Preach,
what
Jesse,
business do they have on the ballot?
Jesse Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you. Good luck with the book.
Well, let me say this.
Sure.
If people truly want to rebel this year, then vote for Gary Johnson, the former governor of New Mexico, who's running with the Libertarians, who won't get any press coverage because mainstream media is also owned by the corporations.
My friend, he just got your press coverage, and thank you
But
for
he
your
used the word
endorsement.
libertarian, and maybe people should have invested in figuring out what Gary Johnson stands for.
I know, there's a label. What
Shorthand
label
has
is
some
that
use.
one?
Jesse
Oh
was still
my, oh
preaching.
my.
Look at
Okay,
you,
guys, we got to
Reverend
leave it there.
Preach,
Jesse
Jesse,
Ventura,
preach.
thank you, sir.